I don't know what's going to happen with Palworld, but make sure that you have it downloaded on your PC if you're playing the game. You own the game already, right? Because it could be gone on any day.
Sometimes my job's really weird. This is an example of that. I cannot believe I'm going to say this, but there is in fact a slim chance that Grand Theft Auto 5 might save Palworld.
What?
But here's the actual story, right?
What?
When September 18th, 2024 hit,
Yeah.
Nintendo and the Pokemon Company dropped a legal bomb on the Palworld developer Pocket Pair, basically patent infringement on game mechanics. That happened, but Pocket Pair then went and did something gutsy.
That's
Before
so
any of it hit court, they decided, right, this is clearly David versus Goliath, we need to go public with a statement. Here is the statement that they put out. It is truly unfortunate that we will be forced to allocate significant time to matters unrelated to the game development due to this lawsuit. However, we will do our utmost for our fans and to ensure that indie game developers are not hindered or discouraged from pursuing their creative ideas. And when it all went down, the timing was fascinating. Pocket Pair were actually prepping Palworld's PS5 launch, and Tokyo Game Show was right around the corner. It seemed the perfect time to drop things. The perfect moment, of course, then, for Nintendo to throw in a lawsuit and create chaos everywhere. But it was not enough to stop a crazy successful month for the company, because rather than the expected PS5 reveal at Tokyo Game Show, they shadow dropped it during the PlayStation State of Play presentation. Japan got the game a few days earlier in October, and according to PlayStation's Japan blog, it actually jumped to the top of the downloads.
Holy shit! It beat Dragon Ball Z and Metaphor and Call of Duty? Oh my god.
The likes of Dragon Ball Sparking Zero and Metaphor ReFantazio, which is impressive. Their numbers are massive, especially in Japan. Now, we've been in a holding pattern ever since. We've been waiting for something to happen, and that is what brings us to today's developments. It's wild, so get ready and sit down. Pocket Pair have revealed that Nintendo filed 3 patents in 2024. Of course, that's after Palworld released, and these patents are all focusing on one specific thing. It's pretty crazy, right? Throwing a ball at a creature to catch it. No battle required, just throw and catch. Now, you might think, how can they patent something after Palworld came out with the mechanic? Well, the problem is, Pokemon Legends Arceus. Nintendo had this mechanic in the wild for nearly 2 years before Palworld came out, and in legal terms, you actually don't need to file your patent first. Nintendo just need to prove that they did it first. And these 3...
What the fuck? How fucking... What the hell is going on over there? That's stupid. It's so stupid. Here's the thing, too. The reason why I think the ball thing is ridiculous is because the ball is basically... Like, you have nets and traps in real life. Like, this is maybe like a digital form of it, but both of these things are mirroring real-life behavior. It's not like it's like some random, like, weird, esoteric video game thing. Like, a Pokeball is meant to represent a trap in real life.
Are not the entire arsenal. A patent expert writing for GameIndustry.biz spotted 28 different patents where Nintendo were alleging infringement. And it's frustrating stuff like running about, transporting your character on a monster. But they're only using these 3, and the reason why is simple. Nintendo want to play it smart. These are the ones where they think they can prove that Palworld copied the specific mechanical implementation from Arceus. Now, they've actually found that movement with the US Patent Office is really slow. It actually may not happen over there, but obviously Japan is where both companies are. It's their home turf. Okay, these 3 patents then are Nintendo's weapon. Now for their objective. Let's get into the numbers, because the Nintendo lawsuit against Palworld is not all that it seems. Now, the initial ask is 5 million yen each for the patents from Pocket Pair, payable to...
They don't want to... because, like, they can't give them the money, because giving them the money could mean that they're... Like, in a lot of cases, giving the money, it's like an implicit assumption of guilt, you know?
Nintendo and the Pokemon Company, which is a grand total of 65,000 USD. That's an absolutely tiny amount of money, especially compared to
makes
Nintendo
a precedent.
Victim,
Exactly.
Colorpool, where basically they ended with a settlement that was worth 30 million and then ongoing licensing fees.
Wow.
Absolutely brutal, which fits. Nintendo's legal team, especially in their home turf, are basically renowned absolute legal assassins. tend to win.
They have never lost a case, as far as I know, that they have initiated. Nintendo hasn't. And Nintendo initiated this case.
All the time. Now, that 65 grand is obviously just an opening move in what is obviously a sort of lawfare thing, right? It's corporate chess. Nintendo's not really going after that pocket change. They're playing a longer game here, and it's not just to bury the company in legal fees, though it is absolutely also that. Let's take a look.
This game really looks like a piece of shit. Oh, I wonder how the people that made this game feel about Palworld. Like, I would feel really stupid. I really would. I would feel like a fucking moron.
Look at the patents to understand how Nintendo have operated here. So yeah, they actually did file these patents after Palworld launch, but they're in fact derived from a December 2021 patent, and they've basically tailored things for this situation. And an IP attorney called Kirk Sigmund spoke to PC Gamer and explained that this is actually standard practice, where companies will have an existing patent, but then they'll refine it to close loopholes. But of course, the timing matters, and in this case, it really does look like Nintendo was preparing their battleground. So here's the brutal part, and well, here's it in Kirk's own words.
Okay.
Your general attorneys cannot do this sort of work. You've got to find specialists. It gets extremely expensive and time-consuming, and it can wear a lot of small companies out. It is designed to make you no longer play the game.
This is one thing that's extremely common with any sort of legal proceeding, is that the goal isn't to win, it's to beat you in a war of attrition. Like a good example of this is like a human versus a raccoon. If you get in a fight with a raccoon, you will probably beat the raccoon. You will be able to kill the raccoon before the raccoon kills you. But man, you are going to get scratched the fuck up. You are going to get cut up. You are going to get fucked around. It's going to be a bad time for you. So it's better to just leave him over there and just let him. He wants to do that. He's going to do that. Rabies? Raccoons don't have rabies innately. Like, that's not how they work. That's not the way their mechanics are.
So in other words, you either give in or you sign yourself up for a legal battle that you don't even know if you can afford. But of course, you probably guess it's not just that. Nintendo's real legal objective here is almost certainly
this guy's a dumbass, whoever's playing.
This would prevent Palworld from being sold whilst it's in breach of those patents. And either way, it's all aimed at sowing chaos. And here's the reason why. Palworld could change the mechanic, right, to no longer be in breach of the patent. That would obviously take game development time, and it would risk player sentiment because they know...
Well, it would also... The thing is, too, is that any behavior that they take as a response to this will be viewed as them capitulating in one way or another, or an admission of guilt. So, like, they're kind of like, they're kind of stuck. Throwing balls is illegal now? Well, I mean, here's really the truth. Everybody knows that Palworld copied Pokemon. Like, we all know this. Everybody knows this. But the difference is that Pokemon actually copied Dragon Quest. Like, if you look at Dragon Quest that predated Pokemon, Pokemon copied the fuck out of them. So, I don't want to have and like, also, all types of innovation, like, anything is built... Like, patents exist to make sure that people can make money off of their products, but at a certain point, when you're using patents to actively suppress innovation in an industry and hurt the consumers, you're effectively having a system that is in place that causes the citizens to lose money and to experience worse products. Why does that system exist? I think that's a very good question.
The game as it is, they like it as it is, and if they just have to come up with a new mechanic to replace catching your pals, well, players may not like that. And the real risk here is time, because they would be incentivized to fix this problem and replace the mechanic as soon as is possible. Now, of course, if you want the mechanic to be good, to be well play tested, you will take your time and get it right. But if you're in breach, if there's an injunction, you can't really afford to do that because it's blocking your game from sale. Or, of course,
Yep.
you could give in, and you could agree to license the patent from Nintendo. But the message, as Kirk puts it, is clear. Quote, "For them, this is a massive target they need to declare.
Yep.
Don't do this to us ever again." One could speculate they'd probably do the same thing to any company that came too close to the main line, especially when they perceived it to possibly infringe their IP.
I think that another big component with Palworld 2 is the fact that it damaged Pokemon. I think that it did. I think a lot of people, after they saw Palworld, whatever the next Pokemon open world game is probably going to look like garbage next to Palworld. And that's going to damage the new Pokemon game. Yeah, critical hit. Yeah, exactly, right? So they have to get rid of Palworld to make sure that nobody else can do that.
Kirk said. And this is absolutely Nintendo sending a warning shot across the bow of the entire industry. It is them hitting Pocket Pair right when they are trying to seize their opportunity. And that includes things like, yes, the PlayStation relationship, but also plans that could see their IP be expanded, just like Pokemon was. And I think that is the real thing that Nintendo are worried about here. Palworld is scrappy, right? And I think we all know that it is taking commonly appreciated elements from all over the place and putting them in.
They stole everything from Pokemon. They did. It's obvious. They did. I mean, why are we even talking around it? They did. Like, Anubis is Lucario. Fucking Lugia is Jet Dragon. I mean, like, really, it's obviously stolen from Pokemon. The Pal spheres are obviously Pal Sphere, Pokeball. Like, come on, what are we even talking about? But it's what the fuck? Like, what is this? So it's not a matter of whether they stole it or not. It's a matter of whether they stole it and Nintendo has a right to allow that to happen. And I don't think that they do. I think that they have to let it happen. Because Nintendo has stolen things from other people, and at the end of the day, you can't... The idea of throwing an object at an animal to capture the animal is something that human beings have been doing for thousands of years. No, I don't think you can own that idea. It's ridiculous. It's such a ridiculous fucking concept. It's insane.
Into something. And Nintendo are probably realizing, this could be a little bit of a problem, because we've basically sat on top of Pokemon. We've done a pretty bad job, all things considered, Pokemon Company as well, for years and years and years and years. What if somebody else is actually able to fight us by making a better Pokemon-like experience? I think that is why Nintendo are trying to do what they do.
And you're going to see this happen too. There's another game that's coming out that's called Azure Permelia. It's a gacha game, so it probably won't have the same reach as Palworld because of the way it's designed. But you're seeing a lot of games that are trying to copy this now. Because I actually think that a game like Pokemon that plays extremely well is something that people want to see. Like, Palworld was kind of like a low-budget version of that. But, like, you know, if you look at that as like Dark Souls, the Elden Ring of that game would be, I think, a generational level game.
I did say there's more than that, and I mentioned Grand Theft Auto. I didn't think Grand Theft Auto would be involved, but kind of is. So this is Nintendo locking things down on their home turf, but it probably won't have that much impact on the broader industry, the global industry, if Nintendo cannot
look how shitty this is. Like, if I guarantee you, I've said this every time I've talked about Palworld, I guarantee you that the guys that are working at Nintendo on Pokemon, I bet they're probably playing Palworld and seeing this, and they probably have worse things to say about it than I do. They're probably the ones saying, like, yeah, we need to fire all these fucking retards. Why is it that somebody who had a middle schooler that worked at a gas station, like, why are they doing the art and they're doing better than us? Like, what are we doing? Like, why is this happening? I guarantee you the guys that are working at Nintendo are thinking that. The Switch is underpowered? No, it's the design is ridiculous. Like, look at the way the character moves.
But we won't have that much impact on the broader industry, the global industry, if Nintendo cannot get the American patent system to agree with them, and at the very least we know that's been a way slower process.
Yeah.
But of course the principle here is an important thing. And there's actually a long shot that was proposed by a patent attorney in Nikkei Business. This is absolutely amazing and I love it. They pointed out that while Nintendo's patents for catching monsters in an open field, might have been filed as far back as December 2021 in its first incarnation, well, they may not actually have the first instance of that mechanic. And that's because of this. This, everybody, is Pokemon Go in Grand Theft Auto 5, done 8 years ago in 2016. Now, remember, how precedence in the actual market with a product, well, that means that Arceus would trump Palworld in terms of filing those patents. Well, as is put here in Nikkei Business, this would mean that because of this mod for GTA, there is an established usage that basically would mean Nintendo shouldn't have been able to file their patent because they didn't create the mechanics, because it was inspired by Pokemon Go, but it was different, and it was there in a GTA mod. It was there in the...
There's no way that goes. There's no way. I mean, anything that's created by fans that's derivative of the original intellectual property is proactively owned by the people who created the original intellectual property. Yeah, no, there's no way. This would be funny, but no. Dota?
Market.
Dota, here's the difference between Dota. Dota was a completely new type of design, and it wasn't like, this would basically be, if you wanted to use Dota as an example, this would be like Rockstar suing Nintendo. But Rockstar isn't the one suing Nintendo.
And that means that Pokemon and guns may save the game with Pokemon and guns.
I don't believe that.
There's
no way.
But okay.
There's no way.
A wild story. And to be honest with you, I really hope Nintendo lose here. Patenting game mechanics is risky business. And one of the worst examples we saw of that was the Lord of the Rings, Shadow of Mordor, and Shadow of War series. They're pretty good games.
Nemesis
the second
system.
one quite a bit less because they tried to ruin that with monetization. But the amazing thing was the Nemesis system. The problem is, the Nemesis system was patented such that if you do something with a Nemesis system-like thing, and look, if it's an indie, sure, they'll probably not notice, but maybe if it gets noticed enough, Warner Brothers games will just be able to take you to court.
Yep.
And I don't think any of us can really, afford to battle with Warner Brothers' bloody lawyers. Yeah, this stuff sucks. Good luck to them. That's it for this video. And for more news, check this one out next.
Man, I do really hope that this happens. I hope that Palworld wins, because I think that the biggest issue right now is companies that are trying, like, this is going to be a big issue that's happening probably in the next 10 years. It's going to be companies that are trying to effectively, I'm trying to think of a way to explain it. Like, imagine you have like a free place and they're trying to create like private property on an island. And they're trying to claim as much land for themselves so new developers can't make games with certain mechanics. So they're trying to effectively take big ideas and then make them exclusive to this kind of a game so they can make it to where other people in the space aren't able to compete with them. And they're doing it through basically an exploit of game mechanics. Craftopia, also from Pocket Pair, came out before Arceus. I don't even think that, in my opinion, I think that Pokemon can easily argue that they've had this system from the 90s, right? I mean, and I feel like, because it's, again, like the patent was referring to a 3D environment. There are no, like, there's 3D environments, I guess, right? But, like, the old Pokemon games had a simulated 3D environment as well. I feel like if it was based off of the inception of the idea, it probably would go from before Arceus. That's what I'm assuming. But I could be wrong. We'll see what happens. Pokemon Coliseum was 3D? Yeah, maybe. Yeah, Pokemon Coliseum was 3D, and that was in, like, the 90s. Yeah, you're right about that. And that'd be, like, 20 years? Yeah, I don't know. But I do think that the people that work at Nintendo pretty much know what they're doing, but I do really, really, really hope they lose. Because I think it sets a terrible precedent for gaming. And the precedent and what that does is it creates a world where people who are trying to make new video games are limited by so many different existing claimed land that they can't build their own place. They can't build their own thing. And I think it's fundamentally like for an average player or a consumer, it's bad for them. They're handicapped? Yeah, exactly. Do you think this is pure gatekeeping or eventually lead us to a point where they buy the land mechanics and aim to rent them out at a charge to generate profit? Yeah, I think that's what they're doing. They're trying to effectively, basically, instead of having to make video games, they can license mechanics because that's obviously much easier to do, right? And so all companies are going to try to go towards as, you know, make things as easy as possible for themselves. That's just how it is. Trying to give a fuck about copyright? Yeah, exactly, right? You shouldn't be able to copyright a mechanic. I think that it's very nuanced, but generally I agree with that. And I think that the big problem is that a lot of video games, these are things that simulate real-life interactions. Like a nemesis system, like the word nemesis was not invented with Lord of the Rings Shadow of Mordor. Nemesis is a word that's been around for a really, really long time. And the idea of it has been around for a really long time. So the idea that this is somehow like something that should be owned and this concept should be owned by Warner Brothers is ridiculous because it's a core human experience that is just being explained in this way. And I think the explanation is too broad. Game patent should last 5 years tops? Well, I don't know. So throwing a fishing net is illegal by Pokemon centers? Well, Pokemon centers? Yeah, I don't know. Patent trolls are a major economic problem in the U.S., slowing growth and innovation and costing companies time and money. Oh, I agree with you. I think it's very bad, too. Absolutely. Patented the jump button? Yeah, exactly. This should come back to the court of public opinion. If people see a company stealing an idea, they won't buy the worst one. They'll buy the better one. I think that they will. I think there's a lot more that's on the table versus just worse and better. Like you have price, brand, brand accessibility, things like that also matter. I'll link you guys the video. Give it a like. This is I really hope Nintendo loses this.